Welcome to Generation Flex, where we bring generationally diverse perspectives to burning challenges. I'm your host, Melissa Donaldson, a professed, curious baby boomer. Thank you for joining. Now, one of my favorite office adornments is a plaque that reads, "God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrow, nor sun without rain, but he did promise strength for the day, comfort for the tears, and light for the way." I think that's a sobering reminder that life will bring lemons, but the lemonade making, well, that's going to take some work. My guests will explore how to find peace from the broken pieces of life. Joining me today are baby boomer Lisa McDonald, a qualitative analytics specialist, millennial Krista Hamilton, CEO of UCAN Chicago, another millennial Christina Miner, a Division I Senior Associate Athletic Director, and a Boomer X, Dave Daner, General Manager here at CAN TV. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so this is one of those subjects that means different things to different people. So just right off the bat, when you hear broken pieces of life, what comes up for you?
I was going to bring a statue, which had been broken. And to me, broken pieces means a chance to, while the pieces are broken, when they're put back together, a lot of times they're much stronger.
That's true.
I've had 2 knee replacements and a hip, but each time you get better and you get stronger and you correct some of the things that were wrong. So that's what it means to me.
Okay, you literally had broken pieces. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Anyone else? What does it mean to you? What comes to mind?
Well, I just think about those times in life that are those kind of inflection points, you know, like a time where you make a decision. We were talking before about going to New York. You make a decision about what you're going to do when, you know, someone in your family dies and all those things. And it's like, what do you make of that opportunity? It's not maybe necessarily something pleasant, but it's what you make of it.
Mm-hmm. I like that word, inflection point. It's almost like conjures up a jarring effect overall. Okay, how about you, Christine?
Plans that didn't go the way you thought they were going to. Talking about inflection points and broken statues, you know, in my mind, it's statue is falling, cup is falling, and you're oh, okay, I got it, I don't got it anymore. Yeah. And then what do you do when you've got pieces on the floor? You can sweep them up, throw them away, or you can, to your point, Lisa, glue them back together.
With some strong Gorilla Glue.
Yep. Big fan.
And embellish them in gold.
Ooh, there you go.
That.
Make it better than before. We gotta get there. Make it better than before. Okay. Krista, anything for you?
Oh, I think about the time the period in between when it breaks and when you put it back together. You know, what do you do in that period? One of my favorite Bible scriptures is Romans 12:12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. You know, and I think about that being patient in affliction, like when it's broken, and then hopefully you put it back together and it's a new thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It reminds me of those cartoons, those animations where it just kind of magnetizes back together. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, you thought it was, but it isn't like that anymore. So for me personally, I have to say, you know, everything from loss, you know, losing a brother and my father and my mother-in-law and, you know, not getting that job that you really, really, really wanted, you know, or I love the metaphors that you all kind of put out on the table and being able to reconstruct it back together. But, you know, sometimes people go, just buck up.
Yep.
You just have to suck that up. So what's your response when you hear people say that?
I kind of totally live that.
Okay.
I feel that I have to do it for those around me who need someone there. You need someone to be a rock, so you can't maybe be quite as emotional in the moment. Maybe you can't process your emotions to allow the others to do so. Mm-hmm. So that's what I try to do. And when you were talking before about, you know, you put it back together with glue, it's funny because that hasn't helped my knees. They just keep breaking further. But the thing is, they're still standing. Mm. And I think, you know, you need people to help a lot of times to get you through something. So I try to be that.
Mm-hmm. But how do you fill up? right? Sometimes I think we can give from our overflow, right? We're there for everybody else. But when one of our pieces breaks, how do we fill up? Any thoughts? How do you do that?
A long day at the beach.
That would be fantastic.
Not thinking about work. And that is a good way to refill, doing something I enjoy, writing music, reading a book, watching a good TV show like this one.
Like this one, right? Yeah, I like that good long day at the beach, especially if you got all-inclusive service and you can just tell them, come on, bring it. So we'll go alphabetically in the menu. Yes.
I belong to a mastermind group, and so once a week we focus on what we want each other to pray for. So I think you focus on what you really want. And then by doing that, they support you and then you support them. And sometimes it's like reaching out for help, just getting it out and talking about what it is you want and then praying on it and then focusing on it, doing it for that week.
That sounds amazing.
That's very helpful. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Piggybacking off of that, for me, church on Sunday, right? I just, it's my gym. It's I have to go. I don't go to the actual gym as much as I should.
Run down the aisle and jump and.
I try not. And I run it in my head, But for me, like, it's like going to the gym every week, right? Like I have to, I bring the last week to the altar and then I'm getting ready for the next week. So that's really important. But then also my support system. Like I'm very blessed with a good tight knit group of friends, my daughter, my partner. So, they are really there to, they're not the type of people that's going to say like, oh, toughen up, right? They'll let me live in my moment. I can cry, I can grieve. I'm the good friend to cry with. So if you ever need a good cry, you don't even got to tell me what's going on. Just like, girl, we got to cry, and we can go for it for a little bit. But having those,
everybody's not a good crier.
and then we laugh about it, we move on, right? Yeah. So I do think you have to have a space that you don't have people saying like, you got to push through it. Like sometimes you just got to live in it for a few minutes. Yeah.
I think the moments are really important because I think sometimes there is, and I'm a compartmentalizer. I think maybe just being an athlete, that was just something you had to do. There was a time to suck it up, buttercup. And there was a time like, I need a timeout, I need a minute. And you can't have them all at any point in time. So I think what people often miss when they say, just get over it, it's, I might have to get over it right now. There will be a time where I'm not over it and I need time, whether it's I'm going to the beach. Or me, I'm a rogue vacation taker. So it's go somewhere I've never been, engage with people I've never met, learn a new culture. Like to me, that's how I fill my cup.
Okay, well, I'm going to find you on my
Come on with me.
So you don't get up there with the wrong folk. But yeah, and I imagine being an athlete, like I know you played tennis, so it's not necessarily a timed situation, right?
You're out there until you're not.
You know what? And every serve could be an opportunity for a broken piece. How do you deal with that?
You fail a lot. And I think that's something that, being an athlete has taught me and it made me a better person post athletic career is I failed a lot. I've lost track of every shot, all the matches. I have no idea what happened, but I remember all the lessons. Is you're going to fail and it's going to be okay. And I think a lot of people, and I work in college athletics now, so I see a lot of 16 to 22-year-olds that have never really failed before. True. And it's just, they take it really hard and they take it personally, and the failure is not a reflection of you as a person. It just happens to be that you failed at this one thing and you're still whole and you're still loved, which I think, depending on the broken pieces, kind of gets lost.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think hinders some people from being able to really kind of pull it back together? That you all, everything you've shared is very evolved, right? But I can only imagine you've got hundreds of elite athletes who were top of their game wherever they came from, and they come, they're one of hundreds, But so what do you think hinders people from really being able to move on?
I think lack of faith and the inability to accept change. And generally I'll have a plan A, B, C, or D. So if something goes wrong, then there's something else. Like when I want to go somewhere, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll go here. So I just think a little bit of flexibility and then having a support system, that will guide you. Like I think career losses and career change are big things for a lot of people. And I had a husband that kept moving, and then when I moved here, it was hard looking for a job, and then I had a girlfriend that said, well, Lisa, you should go into qualitative research. And so luckily he had a salary that I could take the time to do that. But in the interim, I tried new things. I was coordinator for Dance Africa, and I would never have done that having an MBA or whatever, but I tried new things and it led to other things. And then through life, you sort of build on it. So it's just being, I think, acceptable. But it's how your parents, I think it's your foundation too.
True.
You know, I was thinking of other people's expectations, right? Other people's perception of you. You think you're supposed to hit this milestone at this point in life. And when it doesn't work, then you have to, now we have social media. So everybody sees when it doesn't work, when that thing doesn't work out for you. So you have to deal with the pressure of society along with your own, you know, internal disappointment. So I think that is what people don't take the time to process and just deal with, you know, kind of deal with it head on. And then create another plan, right? Create that plan B because plan A didn't work.
Sometimes I think it can be tough when somebody says, just move on. Just, you know, I don't know, that kind of feel a little disrespectful, I think, a little bit, right? Like, give me my moment. What do you think? You get that?
It's not empathetic. So you're not communicating from a place of empathy, and it might be, I don't understand where you're coming from. But you always need to. I don't need you to understand. I just need you to give me some space. Recognize that I am not at the level that you expect me to be at right now, and give me 5 minutes. I might need 10. I'll let you know, like, come back in 10 minutes and we'll have this conversation again.
Absolutely.
But have a little bit of empathy.
We'll get to the truth part in a minute. just like, pat me on my back for just a minute. You know, I do think sometimes, you know, I think a lot of times people are well-meaning, but I think also sometimes they haven't had their own experience of really dealing with broken pieces, right? And they just see you as this, frankly, perfect, strong individual. You know, you don't get to have that broken moment.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's a perfect point because, you know, whatever our age, whatever our generation, we accumulate multiple amounts of these broken inflections, not just our own, but of the people around us. And so, you know, my wife lost her dad fairly young, and watching her go through it helped when it was my dad's turn in that role. And so, you know, I think you can't, sometimes you don't even know until someone else it happens to, and then you learn from them. So it's a combination of learning from the people around you and from how you perceive that event and how you've perceived your loved ones going through that same process.
It's like you said earlier, people do take lessons from you. They watch, you know, and they kind of know who's just the mess, you know, and it just takes everything to pull them back together. But I know you can pull it together. I need you to pull it together because you are my role model.
And when you're the strong person, it's really hard for other people. They don't know how to deal with you because you're usually the person who's keeping other people together.
Right.
So that does become challenging when the strong person falls, you know, for lack of better terms. Nobody knows how to help them put the pieces back together.
I think sometimes the strong person doesn't know how to let other people put them together. You know, when I lost my dad, like I'm the strong friend. I'm the oldest. It is my job to take care of everybody else.
That's true.
Like, okay, so when I can't, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to be like, not that I need time by myself. I just need some help.
Who's going to put you together? This is so insightful. We'll hold it right there. We'll be back right after this break.
Hello, Chicago. Sufyan Sohel with CAN TV's Change Agents. Join me each week as we learn about issues facing Chicagoans and meet some incredible leaders working to bring positive change to our city. Tune in to CAN TV Channel 19, watch us live on cantv.org, or download the CAN TV Plus app. I'll see you soon.
Welcome back to Generation Flex. So when we left, we were defining the broken pieces and how sometimes, you know, people are dependent on us to be strong. But let's talk about really finding that piece, right? So we've talked about the metaphor of coming back together, but how do you really do that? Okay. So, I'm going to throw out a few suggested approaches and just kind of get your reaction to these. And even if your reaction is not going to work, that's fine as well. Gratitude. How can thankfulness bring someone through a broken place and back to peace? What's the value of thankfulness?
Every morning that I wake up and every trip I make where I don't fall, I am grateful for, I'm serious because I fall about once a year. I am grateful for that day. During COVID, and we did an exercise, and what did you learn during COVID? I said, I explored my neighborhood. I was in better health than I'd ever been. I learned far new skills, because at one point I was getting ready to quit my job, but I got bored after 2 months, and then I learned all sorts of new online techniques. And I think just being grateful, the birds were singing, I still listen to the birds sing. I found paths that I never knew. And so each day I just explored. So I think gratitude is vital because you realize how much you really do have.
Absolutely.
And it's the little things that matter, I think, the most that make me happy.
There is a world out there.
I agree, and it's also really hard. So I think gratitude, it allows you to have perspective. Whatever I'm dealing with, depending on what it is, really might not be the end of the world. If this is a death of a parent, then it might be the end of the world at that particular moment. And I'll be, vulnerable moment here. I struggled with gratitude because then I felt guilty about being upset. Death of a parent aside, but I didn't get the job I wanted, or I have a flat tire, and yelling at somebody on the road, and then it starts I'm supposed to be grateful, but now I also feel guilty for whining or being upset, which I'm like, okay, that's just one more, I don't know what the answer is, but that was just one more thing that you have to navigate.
Yeah, we're going to circle back to guilt because I think guilt is a big part of the peace finding as well. I think it's a piece you almost have to move through a little bit. But how you get there. Anyone else? Thankfulness.
I'm probably not thankful enough. I know I probably take things for granted too much, and because of my confidence. I have the confidence in my abilities to be able to succeed at the things that I set my mind to. On the other hand, I also have, which is probably not possible, but I lack confidence. I think, why aren't I doing more for this and why aren't I doing more for that? So I know I can always go back to that well of thankfulness that I probably have that I need to think about more.
And you get tomorrow, you could do it again.
There,
Try it again.
That's right.
That's why it's practice.
Yep, absolutely. I failed today at gratefulness. I'm like, all right, I'll try again tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Great.
I'll say, to wrap the great gratitude up, that's one of my anchors, gratitude, right? I have on my little vision board, I'm going to write an autobiography one day. It's going to be grit, grace, and gratitude. Oh, wow. Because I always circle back to gratitude. Yeah. And the older I've gotten, right? So every year I go by, then I have another kind of like the memories or the receipts of what has happened and what I've gone through. So I think for me, and I was just telling my daughter about this recently, how younger kids, sometimes, they're committing suicide. They're so depressed because they don't have all the memories. They don't have the flashbacks. They don't see all that they've conquered. Yes. So for me, gratitude is one of those anchors that keeps me grounded. Yes. And helps me get to peace.
Those filters on social media are building a false narrative. Yes. People don't have the receipts that you think they have. So thank you for bringing that. I love that. I got the receipts. I've lived. That's one reason why I let my hair go gray. I earned every strand. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about lessons learned. I think you talked about being, kind of being that example for others as to how to sort of handle setbacks in a healthy kind of way. But what can be gained by reflecting on whatever that setback or disappointment or whatever was the cause for the brokenness? What can be gained in terms of lessons? Why is it important to look for that?
I think everything is gained from the reflection on the lessons. I mean, I just think about everything that I've ever done wrong and maybe not pinpointed the exact same spot where everything went wrong, but I learned from the grander lesson of what are the things that led up to that. I hope that we always learn throughout life, that we never stop learning. I don't think there's been a day that I've not learned something new. I think that's the key, is the reflection. You have to be able to see the good as well as the bad.
So you could be confident and not be perfect.
Absolutely.
Still more you can learn and do.
Yep.
Okay.
Multifaceted identity.
Oh,
That's not what
I like it.
Thank you. I think that's something I've learned, whether it's, having to be an empathetic friend to the person that was the strong friend and figuring out how to navigate that. Not having my identity wrapped up in being an athlete, being a student, being, this, that, or the other, professional. You kind of, to your point, you learn about yourself, and now you've got different facets of yourself that you can pull at any point in time. So, it makes you stronger moving forward.
Lisa, I think you had a little bit of a reaction when Dave was talking.
I was thinking of closure, and I think of when my mother died like 3 years ago. I brought her here because she had memory care from North Carolina, where she had lived all her life, since she got married. And I think we had a mother and daughter relationship, so she had dementia. So she would say, "You're taking such good care of me," because I was daddy's girl. I'm saying, so how did you think I would take care of you? And I think in the end, doing what you would want others to do for you, and just being and accepting it. But I think the most interesting thing is both she and her sister, because I was with both of them when they died, they would quote, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And that just brought them peace. And then I would crawl the Unity prayer line, they'd pray with her. And then in the end, she had never said it. She says, she was 95 years old. She says, "You're beautiful." But she would say, she never said anything about my look. She would say, "Pretty is as pretty does," in terms of how they tell you that. And so it was that sense of closure. But I think what was behind it is doing the best that I could do. And I think that's what only all of us could do. And if you know that you have done your best in that relationship and taking care of that person or speaking your truth and having closure, I think you rest a lot easier.
I think so. And speaking of sort of having your rest and having closure, you brought up guilt. Guilt, shame, and embarrassment is the trio that can do you in if you let them. It's not the kind of trinity we want, right? But, is there value, though, in feeling all three of those? Like feeling guilty, feeling the shame, feeling the embarrassment. Like, what can we gain from moving through that spectrum? Anything? Or are you like, stay away from it?
I don't want all three at one time. But I think you learn how to, for me, almost to be a better person to other people, because sometimes you don't realize what character you play for other people. And quick story for me, I had started when I was about 27, like, I'm going to buy a building. I wanted to buy investment property. I didn't have children yet. So throughout a 10-year period of time, either I couldn't find, when I was perfectly ready, when I had the money, when I had the credit, I couldn't find a building. Then I found a building, but then my credit had slipped. Then I got my credit back up, but then I didn't have enough money saved up for the down payment, right? So all these things happened over 10 years. And it was pretty embarrassing because people were like, "Did you buy your building yet? Did you buy your building yet? Did you buy your building yet?" I'm like, no, right? Now, when I couldn't find one, then I would be honest about that. But when it was because my credit was bad, I didn't want to talk about that, right? My money wasn't the way it wanted to be. But so then now when I'm kind of I finally bought I purchased a house a couple years ago, but now I know how to deal with people, like, asking them those certain questions. You may not think it's, you may not know what it's going to trigger for them. So I'm very careful about the things that I approach people and say to them. And when they don't have the answer I expect, then how I respond to them. So just, for me, I learned that lesson going through my own embarrassment or shame of things, how to handle other people.
That's really good. So it wouldn't be nice to say, "Did you buy your building?" Yeah. Whatever. Give it a little spite. We can add spite in there as well. Meditation. We're hearing so much about mindfulness and just being reflective. So meditation as a way of working through some of those feelings of sort of depression or lack or what have you. There's a thought that says if you can be still and present with yourself, you're winning the game. What's your thoughts? Meditation. I know we've talked about reflection, prayer.
I have monkey mind, which means basically the most I can keep it still is for about 5 minutes.
It jumps around.
around.
Yeah.
So my meditation.
That's the thing. Monkey mind is a concept.
Yeah, so it is. And so
Psychology concept.
my meditation is walking. If I go for a walk in nature with nothing, no music, then that's my meditation in terms of just looking at God's creation. That's probably the best thing for me. I think we all have different ways.
Powerful.
to
It's like, have you
meditate.
ever heard of a woodpecker? You're like, that's a woodpecker. Yeah, I mean, it's
And you see the fawn, you see
see
flowers you
the-
never saw before
Yes.
right down the street.
yes, slow it down, pump the brake. Okay, anyone else have any form of meditation or solace?
Mine is probably unhealthy, but no. One thing. This is something I learned in New York. You'd have a long week, and like we all do, whether it just so happened it came to me in New York. The end of my week always came down to I would hand make the dough for a pizza. So I do that first. As soon as I got home from work on that Friday night, then I would make myself a Negroni. And then I would put on, and it was only on vinyl, jazz on vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
And listen to it for the next couple of hours until my wife came home, the pizza was ready to cook, and that was it. That downtime
fantastic.
just like totally grounded me and prepared me for the weekend.
Fantastic.
And then the weekend gave me what I needed to do the next week.
That's fantastic.
What part of that was unhealthy? That sounds delightful.
I guess it's Negroni, perhaps.
Because he didn't say how much he drank.
I heard Negroni.
He didn't say how much he drank.
Wow. Well, you all went deep. You all went deep in that, and that was so great. But we got to take another break, and we'll be right back.
I'm Govalta, host of the podcast 3 Questions With, a public affairs program elevating the voices and visibility of matters most important to the Hispanic Latino community by speaking with community and industry thought leaders on the social determinants of health and democracy. Join us Wednesdays at 7:30 in the evening via Channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and the CanTV Plus app.
It is said that the only guarantees in life are death and taxes. Well, I think embarrassment, setbacks, and loss should be added to that list as well. Living guarantees challenges, but those challenges do not have to be your undoing. Fight for your well-being. Fight for your peace. Sharing can be healing. Consider sharing your story with others rather than retelling only to your biggest critic, yourself. Get still. Self-care through exercise, journaling, meditation, plus being in community can bring healing in multiple ways, both for self and for others. In the broken pieces, remember to live, laugh, and love. It makes good medicine. Finally, believe that the best is yet to come. Thank you to my wonderful guests, Christina, Lisa, Krista, and Dave, for another great conversation. We'll see you all at the table again soon.